What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing the head unit on my 2018 Toyota Tacoma with the Fbinse head unit that allows us to play Apple CarPlay or Android Auto if you have Android straight into the head unit. It also increases the size of the screen by a little bit because we're replacing the whole trim all around it. And I'll show you guys here exactly what I mean by that. And it's everything just plug and play. We should be able to keep our steering wheel controls. We should be able to keep the factory look inside of the truck. And I know what you're thinking, Brian, didn't you just add an Apple CarPlay kind of add on to the truck? And you will be absolutely right. Now, there's nothing wrong with that unit. It's still working great. I'm still using it right now. But I do want to move that into the Mazda V2000 here because there's not a spot here to put a double DIN head unit or anything like that. And just having a single DIN that is smart enough, I guess, it's just too small. It's not going to work. So I'm going to move that over here, and I'm going to keep something that looks a little bit more factory inside of the Tacoma, and this is exactly what's going to allow us to do that. All right, guys, so here we have the box. When you buy the Fbinse head unit, I had already opened it, obviously, as you can see, so there might be some packing here that is missing, but it does come with a lot of stuff in here, guys. There's a lot of cables. I know this might look a little bit intimidating, but a lot of these things is plug and play in the truck, so there should be a spot for almost everything here. We have a user manual here, which we'll put to the side, and then we're gonna go into some of these cables. Now, this is some of the wiring for the main head unit. A lot of this stuff, like I said, is gonna plug into what's already in the truck. It also comes with a trim removal tool and a small screwdriver. It is gonna have a lot of extra stuff too, some antennas, some backup cameras and stuff like that. And I think this is great if you are putting this into like an SR5 model or maybe an SR model where you don't have some of those options already. As far as I'm aware, it should work with like cameras and stuff that are in the truck already, but it does come with an extra one in case you don't have one or in case your truck didn't come with one. There is a backup camera included here on the kit. Again, it should work with what we have, but there is an extra one in case you need it or you don't have it on your truck. There are also a few extras as well. We have a mic, we have, I believe, a GPS sensor here. Again, you might not need all of this. My TRD Off-Road already has a lot of this stuff, so most likely we won't utilize some of these items. But if you didn't have them, then the kit comes already kind of with everything that you would need. Now here is the actual head unit itself. So as you can see, this is everything that we're gonna be replacing in the truck. Kind of very slim here. It probably doesn't need much since there's not like a CD player or anything like that. I guess if you did want to keep your CD option, this might not be the route for you. I don't think I remember the last time I played a CD, so it doesn't bother me. But yeah, this is everything that we're going to be replacing in the truck. As you can kind of see, is all one piece here, molded in. Very nice so far. So bigger screen that we have already in the truck. And like I said, all the cables included. So it should be a pretty straightforward installation. All right, everyone, we are inside of the truck now, and look at this. We're gonna be replacing this factory head unit. This is the non-premium sound. You can kind of see we have a pretty small actual display compared to the size of the actual head unit. So we are gonna be gaining quite a bit of screen real estate. And just to give you a comparison, here is the new one that's gonna be going in. You can kind of see, look at that. That is a massive screen compared to this. So a much needed upgrade, especially on this old model. You can kind of tell I do have the white because I had wrapped here, the little panel in here. So we are gonna have to kind of go back to this factory gray. But I'm gonna try to see if maybe I can either paint it or wrap it here in the near future. It probably won't be for this video though. The only thing I do wanna notice that is a bit of a miss on it, I would say, is that the black on this unit here is more of a gloss black versus what this is, which is more of a matte black. So it's not gonna match this side that well. That is just the one downside so far I noticed on this new unit. So let's get to work and start removing this. To remove this, it's pretty simple. We should be able to just pop it out. If I can do it one hand, yeah, there you go. And there you go. This whole piece is basically out. It is separate from the screen. We are going to have to reuse some of these red pins here on the back of this one, so make sure you don't get rid of that at all. But we are going to have to remove this first before we can put this on. So let me get the tool. Looks like it's a 10mm socket here potentially to get this out. Yep, I think it's a 10 or a 12, most likely a 10. So let me go grab that real quick and let's get this out. All right, guys, so 4 10mm bolts and this whole chunker is out. I didn't realize we're gonna be also doing weight reduction on the truck. I mean, look at the size of this thing compared to that. That is like a third, maybe a fourth of the size of this whole thing, and it does a lot more. So we are gonna take the brackets here on the side. It looks like it's held by about 5 bolts on each side. I'm gonna take them off and put them back in there just so they're in place. I don't think you need them on this one, but I'd rather have them in here than just out floating somewhere in case I need them in the future for any reason. The other thing that we do have to transfer into this, besides the red clips, is gonna be the air vents. Make sure you take those off and then attach them where they go here on each side. So that way this is ready to go into place once we get all the connections hooked up. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the connections back here. Everything should have a spot in the new harness. Take this whole chunker out of here, finish swapping this part, and then we're gonna get right into the wiring of this. Let's do it. All right, we have the bezel and unit here all prepped and ready to be put back in. So make sure we got the red clips all around here, the air vents as well, and we should be good. All we gotta do now is start messing with the wiring. So we're gonna get the wiring that comes here on the kit and then start kind of lining up where all the plugs go. We should have a plug for everything as far as I know. So let me bring that out and then I'll tell you which harness to get. All right, so we got in our main harness, and the way you're gonna know is you're gonna have this little block here. Or also gonna be inside of the bag that has the little screwdriver with the little prying tool as well. This is our main power harness. The main thing that goes into the unit here is gonna be this black plug. So this is gonna go here, it's gonna line up there, and then you can push it in. And then all of these other ones should line up with some of these ones here. Now, I don't know for a fact if they all go into something, so I'm gonna have to start checking them here first, and then I can give you an update on that. But I think for the majority of them should plug into something that is here already in the factory spot. All right, so we have here the main harness plugged in, and as you can see, we do have a few plugs here that doesn't need to go to anything. This might be related potentially to the premium unit. Maybe if you have the premium unit, you have to use this ones as opposed to some of the other ones here. So I'm gonna walk you through kind of everything that I plugged in right now. The only one that it seems to be like a separate harness is gonna be this gray one, which from the looks of it appears to be the USB plugs down here. That one in the same bag that you found the main harness should have another one like this. That's what it connects to. You connect that little harness into this gray one, and that should be to the side. We're gonna connect this into the unit. And then here on the big harness, we have pretty much a spot for everything. You have the two here on the side, you have the blue one and the white one. There is no getting lost because they only go into one. They won't go into multiple ones. So you have those two. Then over here on this other side, you have also this other two. You have the bigger one and the smaller one. I did notice some cables that seem to go into this plug here did not appear to come out over here. So I think we are losing some feature there potentially. And then down here, this is, I believe, the antenna for the radio and such. So that one also connects to this plug, and then it's gonna have this kind of exit plug. This connects to the unit itself that we have here. Again, the black one connects to the unit itself. So everything is pretty much plugged into something, with the only exception being this little one. I'm not sure what this little one is for. I think it might be the GPS antenna. So I'm gonna have to check here online real quick to see if I can find an answer for this. But this little one does not seem to plug into anything that I can find so far. So I might use the GPS antenna that came with the radio and just put it somewhere back there as well and plug it in just in case, so we have some sort of GPS in there. But yeah, everything is looking good here. But we're gonna move on is to plug this into the back of the stereo, plug this one as well, and then this one as well. Now, one more thing I do want to mention, my truck obviously does have a backup camera, and we have to connect this little harness. It's in a different bag. This one needs to be plugged in to the back video. You'll see two of them here on the harness. There's one back video in and then back video over here. Make sure you're plugging in the one that's actually connected to something. As you can see, we have one of them that's floating here. That one has one that's coming out. So That one is not the one that we need. We need the one that's plugged in over here. This one has a back video incoming coming out. So we're gonna plug in our little harness one, and then the other end of this goes into the actual back of the unit. So keep that in mind. Make sure you plug that in, otherwise the camera most likely is not gonna work. All right, I know this is gonna look like an absolute mess, but I'm telling you, once you're doing it, it's gonna make sense. We have our cable here, we have our aux in, both left and right plugged in from our harness coming out, so that's good to go. There is a little white cable here that plugs right next to the one we plug the sub to and all this extra stuff. Then we have the little one from the gray one here on this side. Make sure you plug that in, so you got two there. Our connection here from the red into this harness is all plugged in. We have our antenna plugged in. We have our GPS antenna plugged in on this side. We have our main harness plugged in over here. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we are good to kind of start putting this back. We are gonna test it out and make sure it turns on and everything works before we completely put it all back here and it's all good to go. But I think we are looking good. Like I said, the only thing I'm missing from here is the mic, which would go into this that says mic on it. But I think we should be able to use the one that comes in the truck, hopefully. If not, we're gonna have to put that other one in. So let me test it out. And just in case you guys were wondering, I did look up what this one was, and I believe, according to the forums, is satellite radio. I don't have XM, so if you had XM, this might not be the unit for you, because I don't see a way to plug this one into it. But I don't have it. That's the whole point of having Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. We're just gonna use it through there, right? So there's not a need for us to worry about that one. All right, so we are just testing out here if we have this plugged in right. All right, everyone, it's been about 2 weeks since the last clip, and I wanted to run down here through the stereo just with a few things. I'm not gonna touch on every single app in here. They do have a lot. There's a lot of features in here. I'm pretty happy overall with the stereo and the head unit replacement. There's just a few things I think are worth kind of calling attention to it. Overall, it's been working great. Phone connects almost automatically every single time. And I say almost just because sometimes it does seem to take a little bit longer. And I'm not sure if that's the connection on my phone part or what, but about 99% of the time, it just connects automatically and quick. And 1% of the time, it might take a second extra. So some of the apps here and stuff might look a little bit different than when you first turn on your stereo. They have a couple themes and stuff that you can apply. This is the one I'm using for now. But we are gonna move right into the apps. Now here on the first screen, we have a few Google apps, meaning Chrome, Play Store, and Maps. And those three apps require an internet connection. You're not gonna be able to use those unless you have a hotspot in your car or you are somehow connected to the internet, whether it's through your house or something. So keep that in mind. Maps, even though we have the GPS antenna connected to the back of it, I think that only helps when you have the Android Auto. Same thing, if you have an Apple CarPlay, it works fine. But just you, without any internet, Maps is not gonna open, it's not gonna find out where you are. So keep that in mind. Now we have a few other ones too, Bluetooth and Bluetooth music. Bluetooth music is exactly what it sounds like if you wanna play just music over Bluetooth. Bluetooth is where you would connect your phone, get that paired up and everything for the next time you turn it on, or so you can have that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now video and music, these are two apps that require you to load stuff into the actual head unit. So if you loaded any music videos or anything like that, you can play them through there. Radio works exactly what it sounds like. I haven't seen anything weird, anything off about the radio. Works fine, finds radio stations, not a problem. File manager, that's where you would kind of go through the files that you load into the unit, whether it's music, videos, or anything else. And then settings are your settings for like the Android system. So connecting to Wi-Fi, any apps, notifications, any Google accounts that are linked or anything like that, you can find that here. Now, if we move on to the next one, here we have a couple more apps. So we're gonna go into the first one, car settings. I just wanna call attention to this. This is where you will modify your radio region and a few other things. In case you don't know where to find it, this is where it would be. So if you wanna watch videos while driving or have this dynamic reversing lines, and what that means is if I put the car in reverse and I start turning my steering wheel, you can kind of see those orange lines. That is from the stereo. My factory reverse did not have that. So I think it's kind of cool. Just a little extra stuff here, which makes it pretty nice. And then you have a few more things in here that you can mess with. Display, screensavers, wallpapers, brightness of the screen, you can modify them here. Sound. Here is another thing I want to call attention to. The stereo, when you turn it on, let's say you blast your stereo up to like 30, 50, 60 volume, whatever. If you turn the car off and you turn it back on, it's gonna reset to whatever this default volume is. So you can modify that if you wanna leave it loud, if you wanna leave it quiet or whatever. I like it where it's at 11, it's fine, works great, but you can modify it here. Also, when you put the car in reverse, or if you have navigation going, usually it'll be set to off, which means the music will turn off and you won't hear anything until it stops telling you where to go or you stop reversing. So here you can modify it. You can make that higher, low, medium, just have it not affected at all if you don't want to. That's where you would go and do it. Everything else here, factory, seems to be some kind of code. I couldn't find it. I don't know if that's a factory reset code or something. Couldn't find anything on that, so I'm not going to touch too much on this. Device info, just again, more information about the head unit itself. You can see we have 64 gigs of storage, 2 gigs of memory, and we are on Android version 13. Now we move on. YouTube works the same way as Google Chrome does, so unless you have a connection, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna open anything. Car info is another app I wanna call attention to. Here is where you can find some info and some settings that you had before with the stock head unit. Car settings is where you can kind of modify, the remote, does it take 2 press to unlock? Does you have the intelligent door unlock? It's open, what it does and all that stuff. The only thing right here that I notice is glitchy sometimes. Sometimes it'll like reset, you see that? So that's the only downside of that. Car oil sounds like a oil tracking. So this is more of a trip history. So like what your average speed's been, how long you've been driving. Cruising range is like how much you have left in the tank and stuff like that. It's not like an oil tracking app for like the last time you did the oil change or something like that, which is by the name of it, what I would think it is. TPMS actually reads the TPMS. So it's actually telling me what the pressure is on each tire. The only thing that's a little bit weird is that it shows red, even though it says it's in normal status instead of like green. And then car info here. These are just a few other things that you can kind of see if they're on or close, depending on what you do. So if you look here at the bottom where it says left turn lamp, if I turn that on, you'll see that it's open now. It's really more gimmicky and not everything reads correctly, but it's there. So it's if you want to look at it and you think it's cool, it's there. Outside of that, the rest of the apps here, AV in, if you have anything else with audio or video connected to the back of the head unit, you can kind of see some of that stuff there. I don't have anything, so there's nothing to look at. Image scan is just any images that you have loaded into the system, you can see them there. DSP is going to be anything related to the sound, so you can modify here like the EQ, surround, anything like that, where the balance is and all that. And they have a lot of options, which is kind of nice. Let me just put mine on pop here. So you can modify all of that there and have a few options on that. Now here is where you would select the theme, and you can see they have a lot of them here. You can find one that you like and set that as your home screen one. And then right here, I want to talk about this last two apps. This APK Pure app. It seems to be some kind of Google Play Store, but like maybe from overseas or something. I would say stay away from that app. There is one app in there that says it needs an update, which is your C-Link. And this is what you use to connect the Apple CarPlay. If you use the update from that app, it's gonna break that connection. So just a big heads up on that. Don't update any of the apps through this. Don't use that, just delete it if you can, because otherwise it can break that Apple CarPlay app. Ask me how I know. I did it and everything. If you do end up doing it by accident or something, or you forget and you don't know how to kind of reset that, go back into the settings over here. Go back to System, Reset Options, and then you got to do the Erase All Data Factory Reset. That's the only way you're gonna get back to the old app that you can continue using with your phone. So big heads up on that. The GPS test as well will not work unless you have some sort of internet connection. So quite honestly, it's a bit of a useless app as well that is kind of preloaded in here. Now here on the last screen, we have fan, we have manual, and we have the C-Link. Now the C-Link is, again, what you would use for the Apple CarPlay. I'm not 100% sure if that's the same thing it uses for Android Auto. It probably is. So that's where you would go for that. Fan is just to control the little fan that is on the back of the unit. Then you can have a couple settings here for you to modify. It also tells you what the temperature of the whole thing is. And then manual is just another link for the manual itself. So outside of that, I've been pretty happy with it though. The screen is huge and great. The Apple CarPlay works fine. I had to take off my phone, so it's not going to load in here. So it works like Apple CarPlay. There's really not much to it. Now they do have the option to do like screen mirroring. So you can kind of click that on the settings. You'll kind of see here default connection type. You can see mirroring mode first. So that will just mirror whatever your phone. So you can see whatever from your phone, you'll mirror into here. So, or you have the link mode. So that's where you kind of do that. If you wanted to not do Apple CarPlay and just like mirror the phone, that's where you would do it. Outside of that though, it always connects super quick, super fast. There's only a few times it's struggled to find the connection, and I'm not sure it's just because of my phone or what, but honestly I think it's like 1% of the time. 99% of the time, you turn on the car, it auto connects to it, starts going straight into Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, whichever one you have. Now, the only other downsides that I will mention is on the car itself. So you know how we have the steering wheel controls and everything? Everything works fine as far as the steering wheel control. The only thing I want to call out is that now these two are reversed. So to go to the next track, you have to press down. And to go back or to the previous track, you have to press up. Not sure what happened. I didn't find any setting that would say to reverse that or switch that or anything like that. So that's just what it is now. So keep that in mind. And the other thing is over here on the dash, if you have the TRD off-road like me, there are two things in here that used to show up. One of them was navigation, which was on this screen. If you were driving somewhere using the navigation telling you where to go, this is where it would tell you, right? Like turn right, turn left, whatever. That does not work anymore. There's no connection between the stereo and that anymore. And same thing with the next one here, which is the music. It used to tell me, what song was playing, who the artist was and all that, but that is not there anymore. So keep that in mind. You're gonna lose those two things. Now, me personally, never really use that at all, so it doesn't affect me. But if you are someone that likes to use that option, if you have that option in your truck and you wanna keep it, this stereo is not the one for you. Outside of that though, super happy with it. Screen looks great, it's nice and bright and big compared to the last one. So I've been pretty pleased and happy with this the last 2 weeks.